welcome to Ask a Member, a program of the Adrian Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Ann Hughes, president of the Chamber, and with me today is Lynne Punnett, who's the executive director of Habitat for Humanity of Lenawee County.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. Learn more about you, what you do, and what's happening with Habitat here in Lenawee County. And I know lots of things are going on, and it's not just building or remodeling houses, it's also the restore.
That's
so we
right.
want to talk about all of those. Let's spend a couple minutes. Tell us about your own personal journey working with Habitat.
Well, my husband and I started volunteering for Habitat for Humanity in the mid-90s, and so we have been volunteering for a long time. We're builders.
Okay.
And he would have a few weeks off every summer, and we would give that time to Habitat. And then when hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Wilma, that series of hurricanes hit, we got more involved, and we've taken a number of teams to rebuild the Gulf Coast down there, and most of those trips we worked with Habitat for Humanity of the Gulf Coast. I also was a volunteer with the Washtenaw County Habitat for Humanity, which is Habitat of Huron Valley, and was a house leader for them and led a women build project
Did you
as
really?
a volunteer, as a house leader. And at the end of that project, they asked me to come to work for them on staff. So that would have been in 2007, and I joined the Ann Arbor affiliate as the Faith Relations and Volunteer Coordinator. So it was two half-time positions that they combined into one. And I really loved that. I just couldn't even believe I was being paid to go out and work with churches and all faith-based groups to become engaged with Habitat. And then a few years into that, they asked me to be their construction manager. So I was there the last 2 years as their construction manager until the position came open in Lenawee County, and I applied here.
Is that unusual for a woman to be the construction manager?
It's not the norm. There are a few, but it's not the norm. It is a male-dominated field. But I was welcomed and had a lot of support from within Habitat and a lot of excitement for women. Women Build is a big emphasis within Habitat for Humanity, and over 2,000 homes have been built by women across the country.
Okay, tell us a little more about Women Build.
Well, Women Build is sponsored nationally by Lowe's Home Improvement Center.
Okay.
And so they offer grants and materials and products and underwrite Women Build projects throughout the country that can either be new construction, or in our case, we're doing rehabs here in Lenawee County. And so they provide anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 grants to sponsor entire homes, to buy materials from Lowe's, and they just really believe in promoting women in the industry. And
that's great.
It's a great partnership through Habitat International, and we've benefited directly here. We've had multiple women builds in Lenawee County.
Definitely a glass ceiling
Absolutely.
that you've helped break. You said something interesting, Lynn. It used to be Habitat for Humanity built new homes from the ground up, and I know that's changing, at least here in Lenawee County. Do you want to tell us how that has evolved and what's caused it?
Yeah, I'd be pleased to tell you about that. Traditionally, Habitat built new homes, simple, decent, affordable. This is what drives us, and when we're making decisions, we say, well, is it simple and decent? Okay, we go with that. And a typical home would be 1,100 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Sometimes a basement, sometimes not, depends on the geography, if that makes sense. And so we have built close to 40 homes, or served 45 families in Lenawee County. But in recent years, across Michigan, many affiliates have gone from new construction to rehabs because the foreclosures that are available in the market now, we can get them for so much less. For the same amount of money it would take to build one new home, we can rehab almost 2 complete homes and sell families to homes to two families instead of one new construction. So the opportunities that came up because of these foreclosed properties really doubled our capacity. With the same fundraising effort, I mean. It takes twice as many volunteers, it takes twice as much product. But in funding, we can do 2 homes for the price of 1. And so it's a no-brainer for us. Our job is to serve as many families as possible, not to build as many homes as possible.
So how many homes have you rehabbed in Lenawee County?
Oh, I should know the exact answer. We have sold homes, rehab or new, to 45 families, and I would say 7 or 8 of those have been rehabs, and those have been in recent years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a push going up on the east side right now, right?
We do. Habitat, when people think of Habitat, they think of a house, and that's still true. But what Habitat really has evolved into now is neighborhoods. Yeah, we're looking at neighborhoods, and we're targeting areas rather than, you know, one house here and one house there and one house all spread all over Adrian or all over Lenawee County. We're really looking to target a specific neighborhood and have a greater impact in a smaller geographical area. We are Habitat of Lenawee County, though.
That's right.
We are not Habitat of Adrian.
I know.
And every year we will be at least in one outlying community, in addition to whatever we might be doing in Adrian. And we tend to have a home almost every year in Tecumseh. But we're about to kick off a home in Morenci.
Oh, that's
We have
great.
a family and a house. We have a house in Hudson for the following year, so we'll be looking for a family in Hudson for that next year. So we rotate in those outlying communities, always focusing on Adrian. Right now we have 10 homes that are in our inventory to renovate over the next 2 years, and 8 of those are in Adrian, and 1 is in Hudson and 1 is in Morenci.
Okay.
And of the 8, 7 of them are on the east side, and that's very intentional. We are rebuilding Lenawee, and we want to focus
That's
on
great.
Adrian. And certainly the east side, if there's a place to target in Adrian, our board believes the area to target is that east side.
And I know you're doing one now on the 1000 block of East Maumee.
Yes.
Just kitty corner from where I grew up.
Oh,
So it's been, I
yeah.
drove by the other day to look
Yeah.
at it, and it looks wonderful.
Yeah, we're coming along. We've still got a little bit of exterior work to do. We're insulating right now. We'll be hanging drywall painting and finishing that one up before the end of the year.
Yeah, some family's going to be very happy,
Right.
happy there, I'm sure. So you say you have 10 in inventory on the east side. So how will you work on those simultaneously? Do you finish one before you start another one?
We try to finish one significantly before we finish another one, with the exception of our LISD project that we do with the Building Trades program there. That one goes year-round, but Kevin Brown really oversees that one. And then we try not to have too many going simultaneously. I only have one construction supervisor.
Okay, that's
and
what I was
he can't
gonna
be at
ask.
3 houses in the same day. So as best we can, we start and complete one before we significantly start another one. Too many irons in the fire otherwise.
How long does it take you to rehab a house?
Well, we would like to be done with them beginning to end in 12 weeks. But we've actually had a really difficult time getting volunteers. I think it's a lot of years. We only did one house a year. It was the LISD, Residential Construction Program house. And people would call and want to volunteer, and we didn't have a place to put them. And after calling so many years and
They
not really
stopped.
being placed, they stopped calling. And the message got out that Habitat doesn't really need volunteers. Well, I'm doing 4 houses this year alone, 5 next year, not counting repairs that we're doing. We're doing critical repairs in the community too for people. So we are working really hard to build up the volunteer program, and we really need volunteers. But if we had the volunteers, then we would want to start and finish within 12 weeks, and we would work 2 or 3 days a week to get the house done, depending on how big the project is.
Okay. Now, you mentioned another program, too, that you had told me about earlier that someone made possible through a gift,
Right.
the critical repairs. Tell
Right.
us about that.
Well, we did our first, what we call a brush with kindness, with the support of the Adrian Kiwanis. They gave us the very first grant almost 2 years ago, $7,500, to go out and serve as many families as we could with repairs on their home. And it's very much like the Habitat home ownership program. It's not free. We don't give homes away. The number one myth that we work to dispel at Habitat is that homes are free. But repairs aren't free either. We look for people who qualify based on the income criteria, and we make the repayment of the repairs or the mortgage very affordable. I mean, I have a woman right now who's 90 years old, was going to have her homeowner's insurance canceled. We went out, we did some very simple repairs. For her, she wants to repay us, and she's giving us $10 a month. That's fine. It's pride for her
Sure.
to pay us back, and that $10 a month goes to help another family get a repair on their home. But the grant that we're working under right now, because we served a number of families with that Kiwanis grant, simple repairs to major repairs. But the grant that we're working under right now is a very generous grant by the Stubnitz Foundation for $20,000. And they would like us before June 30th of next year, which is when our fiscal year ends, to serve 10 to 15 families with that $20,000. And we tend to get most of our calls come from seniors or veterans who really need help. Not exclusively, but that's most of the calls. And we get far more calls for repairs than we do for the homeownership program. There are many people in this community that really need critical repairs on their home.
What does the average repair job cost?
Oh, a couple $1,000s probably would be an average. For $20,000 from Stubnitz, we should be able to serve 10 families. So if that was about $2,000 each. But the simple repair for the woman in Morenci, you know, we did that for $100. But then the very same week, we had a woman out at the end of East Maumee who had buckets all across her home with water pouring in her roof through live light fixtures running through the electrical. And so that was $5,200. But we partner with other agencies in the community. Community Action
So they help
was
cover
able to
some of
come
that.
in and provide $1,500. So we provided of that job $3,700 and take her about 5 years to pay us back. But
And
it's an affordable repayment
The
from
money,
her.
the money from Community Action, that was a grant. She doesn't have
She
to
does-
pay that back.
I honestly don't know the terms with
Okay.
Community Action. I do believe there are some restrictions. If she sells the home within so many years, she might have to pay it back or a portion of it. I don't know their terms, but we've partnered with Department of Human Services, Community Action Agency, Habitat Funds coming together on one veteran's home last year, so that we did about $18,000 in repairs on his home because of a very generous grant from the Home Depot Foundation. They gave us $15,000 and changed his life. He had been living in his home with no heat for 2 years, heating his home with a stove. He had a water heater that was venting poisonous gas right into his home. He had no way to make these repairs, and a long list of other things too. And so with Department of Human Services, because he qualified for some benefits with them, and Community Action, he qualified for benefits through them, we put up the $15,000 and got a lot of work done.
Oh, that's great.
So we really work all together as agencies in the community to meet the needs and stretch all our dollars further.
And there's more and more collaboration going on.
All the time.
In Lenawee County.
Very intentional. And I would like to, if I could just take a moment to plug the United Way here in Lenawee County. They are very forward-thinking, and they are leading all of us in this community to raise the bar on the collaborative efforts, and it's a pleasure to have them as leaders for the rest of us.
Well, with the coalition that's working to meet all the needs of the homeless youth and
That's
get them
right.
graduated and places to live and all the other things that they need is another good example of that. So what's the process, real quickly, because we're just about out of time, but what's the process when somebody buys a home, buys a Habitat home?
They would apply, and they need to meet an income criteria, which would be 30 to 60% of the average median income in Lenawee County. So it's low to middle income people. They have to complete sweat equity. It's a very important component of our program. So each adult in the family completes 200 hours. And if they haven't been assigned their home yet, then they're working on someone else's Habitat home to get those hours done. And then they need to demonstrate a need. So that could be they're paying too much, or they're overcrowded, or it's an unsafe neighborhood, or there's mold in their home. There needs to be a need, a need that is demonstrated, which is not hard. We very seldom ever go into someone's home where we can't justify and see a need if they're applying for Habitat. So those are the things that get them in the program. We don't give the home away after it's all done. We have a closing. It's based on an appraisal, just like anyone who went to a bank. That's sets a selling price. And we make sure that that mortgage is affordable to them and doesn't exceed 30% of their average monthly gross income. So if that means the mortgage needs to be 25 years instead of 20, then they know that. They can budget that, and we all go into it knowing, but we make the commitment that it's an affordable payment. That 30% includes their principal, their taxes, and their property insurance, all 3 components.
That's great. So you're setting them up to succeed.
Absolutely,
which
and
is
there's a heavy
really
educational
important.
component too. They've got to take budgeting classes, home maintenance classes. There's a lot to it,
That's
and
great.
when they demonstrate that willingness to partner, that's what we look for. So.
That's great. You're making a real difference in people's lives,
Thank
Lynn.
you.
Thank you very much.
And the Restore, though, also really
Right.
contributes to that, because any donations that go there support the ministry. And our goal with the Restore would be that the Restore would cover all the operating costs of the affiliate, all the proceeds from the Restore, so that every donor dollar can go directly to housing. That's the
great.
purpose of the Restore. So it really makes a difference.
And anybody can go to the Restore.
It's
They
open
can
to the
they can
public.
either give or shop there, and
They
just
can
wonderful,
donate,
wonderful
you can
things
shop.
there.
It's
Yeah,
open Tuesday through Friday, Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. And Habitat's phone number?
265-6157 in
Okay.
Adrian.
And they can call you for more information. Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.